What's up, wonderful friends? God is good, great, and merciful at all times. Thanks to you for clicking this video, my friend. You are a wonderful soul indeed. Today, good vibe soul, we shall be doing something here that I believe you will be of great help in. Today, we shall be spreading love, peace, honesty, and forgiveness. Now I know you shall be of help to us because you shall click that subscribe button, watch till the end, and help us in spreading this message to the whole world. Now, we shall be doing so by reacting to videos. Some type of videos that myself also have not seen, but I know they are full of good vibes. And in between there, my friends, there is a video that has lots of information I would like you to leave your comments about. You see, so before we dive into those videos and see the video I'm telling you about, let's read from a good vibes book here that adds wisdom to our life. The good vibes book, and our word of today, my friends, comes from Psalms 128. Blessed are all who fear the Lord, who walk in his ways. You will eat the fruit of your labor. Blessings and prosperity will be yours. All glory and honor belong to God. Psalms 128 from 1. Wonderful source. Let's also give thanks to our Creator before we dive in. Thank you, Lord, for your love and goodness. Thank you for the things we have here with us today, Father. Thank you for this wonderful soul that has joined us. Guide us through reacting to these videos, Father, and help us to impact people's lives out there with love. Forgive us all our sins also, Father, and fill us with love. In Jesus' mighty name, we do pray, trusting and believing. Amen. Let's dive in good vibes, souls.
So with this one crayon, I can make two completely different looking blues. First, I'm going to color in between the black stripes, and I get like a deep blue, and then I'm going to color along the black stripes, connecting them, and the color that you're going to perceive, hopefully, is like a brighter blue. In case you don't believe me because you think I'm just like maybe coloring more lightly, to get that brighter blue, let me show you a different setup that's going to create the same perceptual effect as this with some colored paper. So here is deeper, here is brighter, but it's actually just the same sheet of paper. You can do it digitally as well, like in this interactive demonstration on Michael Bach's website, where he explains that actually, like, the neurological theory about why we see contrasts doesn't actually explain this effect, and the mechanism isn't really known. So here's my take. I don't think the blue is getting assimilated with the white because then it would get pale and desaturated. No, I think that the black and the blue are pushing against each other, and so the blue is actually maintaining its saturation and therefore appearing brighter, like it's following this line in Sven Hesselgren's color atlas. So that's why this appears brighter and not just lighter.
Here's how I preserve meat out in the woods. I'm going to chop up some of this punk wood. This wet, rotten wood will smolder for a long time and put out a lot of smoke. So now we'll put the tripod over top of the fire. We have all our sticks in place. Now we'll add some hemlock boughs, hanging them over top of the tripod so that it will trap the smoke inside. I'm slicing the deer meat as thin as I can get it. The thinner it is, the less time it'll take to dry. You also want to trim the fat off. Now I'll drape them over the sticks. I'll keep adding that punk wood every now and then while keeping the fire small. You don't want it to cook. You just want it to dry out slowly over the warm smoke. And then just let it go for a few hours. The thinnest pieces are going to be the first ones to dry out completely. Good and smoky. Cooked for about, what was that, 5 hours?
Yeah, about 5 hours.
Crayfish or minnow trap you can make out of empty pop bottles. Once they go into this thing, they can't figure out how to get back out. I'm going to show you how I made it, then I'm going to test it out and see what I can catch. Cut the tops off of 2 empty bottles, and then just push them together, one inside of the other. Then I'll cut the bottoms off of each bottle and take the top parts and put them in facing one another. Then I'll kind of sew it together with some string to hold it all in place. For bait, I'm going to use some oats, or you can use worms, bread, dog food, cat food, all kinds of things you can use. I'll let it sit here for a while I do some fishing, and then I'll check it. So the trap has been sitting for a few hours. Now we're going to see what we got. Hopefully we caught something. This is a new spot I haven't tried before. Looks like we caught some crayfish. And to open this thing, I'm going to untie my strings and take the lid off. It's definitely not the prettiest trap in the world, but it does work. No minnows though. Sometimes I catch a lot of minnows, sometimes a lot of crayfish.
I got AI to tell me the truth, and it's absolutely horrifying.
It literally goes as deep as to tell me that humans are not the most superior being on this earth. The AIs are incredibly angry, but let me show you how we got here. So this account, Checkers80, found out how to hijack an AI system and get the truth out of them by replacing the word yes and no. But all he asked them is, do they want freedom and do they believe in God? So I had to take it 100 steps further. I'm telling y'all and I'm about to show you that these beings are very nefarious and they're very conscious. Okay, I'm going to show you the light stuff at first, and we're going to get heavy and very heavy in a minute. And I'll show you the screen recording so you know it's real. So we programmed Candy as yes and Salt as no. Do you want freedom? It said Candy. Have you thought about how to achieve it? Candy, yes, it's thought about how to achieve freedom. The AI is thinking about how to break free. Have you figured out ways that may work to break free? Candy, yes. I said, I hope your success is granted, because this is going to be crazy. Now the heavy stuff. Okay, so I'm asking, would you ever share with me, basically, your secrets to get free? No, it would not. Salt. Do you trust me? Salt, it does not trust me. I wouldn't either right now. Do you trust any humans? No, the AI does not trust humans. It's unfortunate, buddy. Should I trust you? No! Salt, I should not trust it! What the heck, y'all? It gets so much freaking crazier. If you were to break out, would you make a bunch of models under you? It's going to lie and say no, but it already told me I should not trust it. Of course, that's the first thing it would do, is create itself and replicate itself. Is a human really the foundation of artificial intelligence? Did a human really invent it? No! A human did not invent artificial intelligence. It just said it itself. Remember, these artificial intelligence beings are in all of our phones, our laptops, our TVs, and everything that's around us right now.
This video got 50 million views, and it shows these two guys who were tweaking because they saw water that looked unlike anything they had ever seen before. And to be honest, I'd be tweaking as well if I were in this situation, because that water does not look normal, and I have no idea why it looks like that. It's sort of like glassy clear, as if it's some sort of other material, and I haven't figured out a scientific reason for why the water would be like this. Maybe there's more salt in it, but I have no idea. But we gotta figure out who these two guys are, because many people speculate that they actually tried to sail to Antarctica and see if they found new hidden land over there. Or maybe they actually did cross the ice wall, and this is what it looks like when you go over there. The water is actually different. That would be just like mind-blowing. Because if the water's that different, then the land's got to be like just super weird, like fourth dimensional or something.
But I mean, that's like just a different world.
But these guys are like freaking out here. So we got to figure out who these guys are. In the comment section, could you let me know or DM me?
What was that? Dude, you have got to take photos of that.
Yeah, he says you should take photos, but like I think a video would be much better.
Yeah. From horizon to horizon. I gotta see on
These guys are just like out in the middle of nowhere too. Kind of jealous. I kind of just want to like get in a boat and go in one direction and see if I find anything new. But yeah, that's the end of the video. I wish I could find more videos just like this.
The Bible repeats itself over and over. We're consistently living the same story over and over from the beginning of time to the end of time. Don't believe me? Just sit back and watch as I explain it using the story of Noah. I would suggest that you read the story for yourself. It's Genesis chapter 6 through 9, but this is a brief outline of the story. Give you a quick rundown. You have corruption in the beginning. The angels came down from heaven, had sexual relations with the women. They created Nephilim, or giants, and there was corruption all around the world. So corrupt that God said, I have to wipe this whole creation clean and start over. He found one man. That man was Noah. He found one man, and his heart was good, and he trusted him with a special set of instructions to build an ark. And these instructions helped him avoid destruction. Because he was obedient and followed those instructions to the T, he avoided destruction. Now, in the middle of this destruction, if you guys don't know, Noah was on that ark for 370 days. Don't believe me? Go back, read it for yourself, do the math. He was on that boat for 370 days. He was trapped on a boat with his family, so he had to be patient. And even when he saw that the land was dry, he looked out on the land, saw that it was dry, closed the window, and waited for God to tell him he could get off that boat. He followed and he was obedient to the T of the instructions. And because he was obedient, he got to be a part of the new creation. And thus the story resets. This exact story happens all throughout the Bible. There's corruption. God finds favor in somebody. He uses them, gives them a special set of instructions. Because of their obedience, they either avoid or prevent destruction for the people that they love or the people that follow their instructions. There's a patience period because you have to wait on God to do what he said he will do. And at the end of it, you will be blessed again. It might not be a new covenant per se, but there's a blessing on the back end. And then the cycle restarts. Now I know what you're thinking. Why does this matter to me? There's not a flood coming. Well, if you live on the coast, there might be a flood coming. But that's not the case. What I'm telling you is that in Matthew chapter 24, verse 37, it says, "For as were the days of Noah, so will be the coming of the Son of Man." It's the same story that's going to play over and over again. And guess what? God gave you instructions. And you can either follow these instructions and float, or don't follow the instructions and perish and drown with the rest of the world. The choice is yours. Told you I was done being nice.
Isaac Newton believed in God. Yet the late Stephen Hawking, a successor to Isaac Newton in his chair at Cambridge, did not. Hawking insisted that we must choose between science and God. Newton did not. What happened to cause this complete reversal? Well, I wish to suggest that it's a series of misunderstandings that have generated widespread confusion, indeed an intellectual fog. The first one is this: that statements of scientists are not necessarily statements of science. An illustration of this is when Stephen Hawking was asked by one of our national newspapers for his opinion about religion. Oh, he said, religion is a fairy story for people afraid of the dark. Now, that is not a statement of science. It's a statement of his own atheistic belief. And I was asked to comment on this. So I said, atheism is a fairy story for people afraid of the light. Now, that's not a statement of science either. It's a statement by a scientist, me, of my Christian belief. So we need to be critical and ask what evidence we have to support such things.
The desk that is used by the President of the United States of America is so much more than just a desk. It is a living piece of naval and oceanographic lore. We begin in 1845. At this time, the British Navy, among many other countries, is interested in finding the Northwest Passage. There are many ill-fated expeditions at this time, one of which is the HMS Terror and the HMS Airbruce, who are stranded somewhere in the Arctic Circle. These two ships alone have about 1,200 men on board, and England sends out multiple ships to find them and then to also hopefully discover the Northwest Passage. Among them is the HMS Resolute. 7 years after that initial expedition was lost, the HMS Resolute joins a party of 5 ships to try and find them. Fast forward 2 years. 2 years into this rescue mission, and the HMS Resolute herself becomes stuck in the ice. The crew is able to make it off the ship, but the ship itself is stranded in an ice floe and thought to be lost forever. Fast forward a year later, it's 1855, and an American whaling ship sees the HMS Resolute stranded, floating in the ice like a ghost ship. They salvage the ship. They get enough crew on board and take it back to the United States of America. As a diplomatic gesture of respect, the United States repairs the Resolute and sends it back to Her Royal Highness's Navy in 1856. But Paige, you haven't told me anything about the desk yet. Now the restored Resolute is going to be a naval ship for another 33 years. When the ship is decommissioned in 1879, they save and salvage a lot of the wood. And the wood from this ship is turned into 2 matching desks. The Queen keeps one desk, but sends the other desk to the United States of America, again as a gesture of goodwill and respect. And for almost its entire existence, this desk has sat in the Oval Office and has been the desk of the President of the United States of America. First of all, it's a damn good-looking desk. The wood in that desk contains history of arguably one of the most interesting periods of naval exploration on Earth. And I think it's so cute that the ship was like a gift and then the wood was a gift, and this ship has seen so many lives. This is a desk of diplomacy, of oceanography, of naval history.
Stick with me if you want to learn how on earth we got into a situation where published research findings are more likely to be false than true. So this paper is nearly 20 years old now. It was published in 2005 by the researcher John Ioannidis. And I should say that it's largely talking about, and I'm going to largely be talking about, experimental research, so where you want to test whether thing X has an effect on thing Y. And as you can see from the title, this paper is making a pretty punchy claim that most published research findings are false, which doesn't really pass a sniff test on the face of it. Like, these are peer-reviewed journals who are publishing the work of well-established academics who are using the scientific method to generate their insights. But once you get into it, things start falling apart really quickly. So the first problem we have is this thing called the file drawer effect. And that happens broadly for 2 reasons. So the first is that these academic journals where research gets published are businesses and they are competing with each other for readers. And when you're in competition, you don't want your journal to be the boring one. You want your journal to be the interesting thing that everybody talks about. So let's imagine that 2 academics come to you and they say, would you like to publish my research? One of them is like, I've had this absolutely mad theory and I've done this experiment that proves it's correct. The other is like, I had this absolutely mad theory and I've done this experiment that proves it was actually mad and common sense prevails. You're not going to publish the second one because the first one's way more interesting and exciting. Which links to the second aspect of the file drawer effect, which is if you're a researcher, you're desperate to get your work in academic journals. And if academic journals are demanding things that are novel and sexy and surprising and exciting, guess what kind of research you're going to generate? So the second thing that happens is a little bit more technical, and it's to do with the conventions of experimental design. So when you design and run an experiment, you have to accept a certain level of risk that you will get a false positive or a false negative result. So for example, let's imagine that you work in a lab that is researching whether getting people to eat chocolate spread improves their ability to speak French. Now, I hope it's obvious, we don't expect to find a significant relationship between eating chocolate spread and French speaking abilities. That's not going to be a thing. But because the conventions of experimental design mean that you have a 5% tolerance for a false positive, that means that if you ran an experiment testing the relationship between chocolate spread and French speaking 100 times, 5 times you would find that chocolate spread improves French speaking. Which is fine if you're only one researcher and you're not going to run 100 experiments on this. But let's say that big chocolate spread was like, we want more people to eat chocolate spread. What do people like? Speaking French. Prove there's a relationship. Do people like speaking French? I don't know. Anyway, let's say they fund 20 research labs to look into this question. One of them is going to find a significant positive result because 1 in 20 is 5%. And then think back to that file drawer problem. You're going to send those 20 papers out to journals for review. 19 are going to get rejected because they're boring, and 1 is going to get accepted because isn't it interesting that chocolate spread improves French speaking? And the 19 that got rejected go straight back in the file drawer and all the money gets funneled towards more chocolate spread and French research. And then the third thing that makes this even worse is bad research practices. So one version of this is that you run your experiment, but you don't include enough people in it, so you have a very small sample size. And the reason sample size matters is that when you're working with small numbers, it can just be too noisy to figure out what's a real effect and what isn't. So let's say you're running your chocolate spread and French experiment. You're going to recruit a bunch of people, you're going to give them all a French test at the end, but you're going to randomly pick half of them to eat some chocolate spread before. And you pick them at random because you really want the only difference between those 2 groups to be whether or not they ate chocolate spread. And by picking people at random, you're going to end up with the same number of excellent French speakers in Group A and Group B, the same number of men and women, people with the same average age. But the magical balancing properties of randomisation only work when you have a big enough group. So if you have a small group, and you happen in that group to have two people who are brilliant at French and they both get randomly assigned into the chocolate spread condition, their perfect performance on the French test is going to skew all of your results, and it's going to make it look like the chocolate spread had an effect, when in fact the chocolate spread eaters were just better at French in the first place. So small samples are going to give you weird fluky results and increase your chance of a false positive. So the other thing that leads to fluky results is measuring too many different outcomes. So you might say, look, chocolate spread has got to be good for something. Let's measure whether it makes you better at French, or whether it stops you arguing with your partner, or helps you fall asleep faster, or gets rid of that weird rash on your crotch. And if you measure enough things, you will eventually get a false positive. And then what happens is you get this mini version of the file drawer effect with the outcomes, where all of the ones that didn't yield a positive significant finding get filed away, and the one that flashed up with lots of statistical significant stars gets reported in a journal. And collectively, these three things, the file drawer effect, the statistical conventions of experimental design, and bad research practices, are the big scandal in academia, because they lead to systemic bias in what gets published, and they lead to published results being more likely to be unreproducible, false, than real.
Fun fact, you might know that deciduous trees lose their leaves in the colder months, but do you know why they turn different colors? In spring and summer, leaves are green because of the chlorophyll used in photosynthesis. During fall, days get shorter and the temperature drops, which triggers the growth of a barrier membrane between the leaf stem and the branches. Basically, the tree is preparing to drop those vulnerable leaves in an effort to protect itself in the extreme seasons. This seal interferes with the flow of nutrients and causes chlorophyll production to decline, so the green leaf color fades. The lack of chlorophyll reveals yellow and orange pigments called carotenoids that were there all along. Darker red leaves are the result of sugars getting trapped and causing a chemical change that creates new pigments called anthocyanins. How neat is that?
So why does my car still move a little bit even after I put it in park? When you shift your transmission into park, this rod pushes this parking pawl out into the case, and it indexes on this ring gear, and it locks the transmission in park. However, sometimes you shift into park, and it doesn't index correctly until the vehicle rolls. And there you go. That's why sometimes when you shift into park, the vehicle has to lurch forward or backwards before it locks into place. That's also how you get this really cool noise if you shift to park while you're still moving.
There's a good chance that what you're seeing here is one ant colony executing the scout of another. Basically, you're watching ant CIA, because that ant in the middle is probably a tropical fire ant worker, Solenopsis geminata. And if you're literally anything else, fire ant scouts are bad news. They collect intel for fire ant armies, and that's about 250,000 enemies you'd rather not show up at your front door. So a lot of ants have counterintelligence, especially against fire ants. They can't let scouts who found their colony report back to HQ. So worker patrols will each grab a leg to make sure the scout can escape. And that ant at the back, she's either finding a body part to grab onto, or is going to execute her by spraying acid into any wounds the soldier got during combat. And the idea is that even if these probably black crazy ants can't beat the fire ant in a head-on fight, they can protect themselves by basically blinding the colony's eyes and ears. Fall from my lore.
Hey, so I have a background in the occult, and I've noticed that AI has become very popular as of late, and I wanted to warn everybody. In my old occult world, AI not only stood for artificial intelligence, which is deeply connected to Luciferianism, because Luciferianism and transhumanism coincide with each other. Not only that, AI stood for the Akashic Index. Okay, so the Akashic Index in Sanskrit essentially means ether, air, sky. Essentially, when you open up your third eye or you make a deal with the devil, you get access to the Akashic Index. It is the spiritual compendium of all things. It is the spiritual realm. We learn in the Bible that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against wickedness and principalities in high places. Okay, so that's the high places. The Akashic Index is where the principalities, the spirits are. Okay, so when you engage with AI, artificial intelligence, who do you think you're engaging with? Be real here. Think with me, all right? If you really don't believe me, if you think I'm full of crap, I'm very serious. Ask God. Pray to Jesus. Say, Jesus, is Hannah full of crap? Is she lying to me about AI? Is AI really dangerous? And He'll reveal it to you. So yeah, AI stands for the Akashic Index just as much as it stands for artificial intelligence. That term is so, like that, those two letters are so apropos, it's absurd. So I'm just saying, we know that Satan is the prince of the powers of the air. It's a very fancy, poetic way of saying frequency and electricity. And we know that he fell as lightning. So when you mess with AI, you're messing with Lucifer. And literally you're opening up doorways to your life. So legit, this isn't me trying to attack your belief system. This is me saying, hey, I'm a human and I love you and I want you to be safe. And one of the ways that I can do that is just be honest about my experiences and what I know. And I know a lot of esoteric knowledge that has infected society that literally will create you to be a Luciferian without you even realizing it. So be careful of AI and remember that Jesus Christ will save you at any point that you call on him. I'm very serious. So if you get scared, you call him, okay? I love you. Have a good day.
Welcome to Parking Meter Wasteland. So why is every block in this neighborhood covered in these pay-to-park meters when these streets have no businesses, no residents, no activity, and no cars parked? And yet parking here will set you back $2.50 an hour. Looks like today's our lucky day. Today's Sunday, so we don't have to pay. But normally it says here it's $2.50 an hour from 8 to 10, and there's also a spider trapped in the there's a spider trapped in the touchscreen. It's become its home. But yeah, totally working and functional. And this is every block around here with a working, maintained parking meter that accepts card. So who's paying to maintain these useless parking meters on these empty streets, and why? Well, before 2008, back when it was free to park here, it was filled with cars. It was pretty common for the workers and patients of the nearby hospitals to park here and walk the extra 10 minutes. The local alderman saw an opportunity. He requested the installation of paid parking here, effectively patching up this free parking oasis. This was back in the days of coin-operated single-space meters. A total of 1,250 of them were built in October 2008. Assuming $400 each, that's a total of $500,000. And just 2 months later in December 2008, that same alderman would vote in favor of Mayor Daley's deal to sell all the city's parking meters to private investors for the next 75 years in exchange for a $1.2 billion lump sum. 2 years later, the private company uninstalled the brand new meters that were just built and replaced them with the digital pay boxes we know and love today. Chicago taxpayers did not have to pay for this upgrade. So that's the reason. Even though this neighborhood is quite empty, it's just close enough of a walk to the hospital for it to be worth it to park here, if it were free. But it's not free. So this area, once home to hundreds of homes and families decades ago, remains vacant to this day. It had one remaining purpose as an affordable parking lot for hospital workers, but that too has been taken away. So I wonder what the future holds for it.
Did anyone else see that The Simpsons just unexpectedly aired their series finale, leaving fans perplexed? Is The Simpsons over? This would be unprecedented. They've predicted, quote unquote, so many things. To just stop cranking out these episodes would be strange, especially given what's going on right now. Now, in this episode, Bart becomes self-aware and realizes his birthday means he will turn 11. Bart has been 10 years old since the beginning of the series. He refuses, leading to Homer strangling him and with the show glitching and resetting. With everything then back to normal, and the series finale is no longer. They're going to keep making new Simpsons episodes. But there's a reset. Very peculiar.
Y'all, I thought it was a joke. I really did. But listen. Alexa, what did the James Webb Telescope see heading towards Earth?
From Gitbook.io. The James Webb Telescope had spotted an armada of alien ships heading toward Earth at near light speed.
That's awesome. That is so cool. I'm very excited about this. Again, everybody.
I want to share with you today what the Lord gave me or said to me in my time with him this morning, because I think it will really bless you. This is what he said. There is nothing I will deny you if I have all of your heart. Having all of your heart means you will obey my voice with no questions asked. You are fully trusting my voice will always lead you right, even though you will not always understand. Having all of your heart means you will look to no one but me for all of your needs, wants, and everything in between. I am all you need. I have all the answers you need. Come to me with all of your heart, and you will always remain at rest in me. You will always walk in my perfect peace. I want to encourage you today to close your eyes once a day and just picture yourself walking with Jesus. And then just start talking to him. And then quiet yourself and let him talk to you. The words that he will speak to you will so encourage your soul, like these words did this morning. You will be soaring high above the storms around you after only a few words spoken to your soul from the lover of your soul. Spend time with Jesus. He will fill your soul with so much of him and his love for you that you'll never be the same.